Looking back into the past, I have to ask myself why I keep returning to these god-awful PlayStation games, and I don't know what it is about Excalibur personally, but somehow I'm back again to finally do a full in-depth review of this thing. Excalibur is an action-adventure trading simulator where you go around giving things to people in exchange for things. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, there's a story in here too. To summarise this as briefly as possible, some asshat from the future called Delavar has taken the time to construct a time machine to go back in time and have legendary sword Excalibur stolen, because the future sucks and it'll look good on his mantelpiece, I guess. Anyway, as daughter of Merlin, you, Beth, must go into the future and retrieve the sword. The story goes into detail about the state of the world, but doesn't really ever say why Delavar really needs Excalibur in a world with laser guns. Look, it didn't protect Arthur and he had Excalibur. You don't bring a sword to a gunfight. Whatever, who cares? Let's just go get the damn sword. You start off in level 1, the Underworld, and according to the story, this is 450 years into the future. But this could pass as some shitty dungeon in medieval England. The first thing you do is meet a guy named Trador, which could not be more of an appropriate name for what the game has in store for you, which you'll find out after his dialogue has loaded. To this date, this is one of the only times in a PlayStation game I've had to wait for dialogue to load. Anyway, Trador is injured and needs a medical kit, and you're going to go get him it, because if you don't, he'll sit there on the brink of death forever. Toddling off to find said medikit, in the next room you'll find a burly dude with the face of a shriveled prune. The guy's wielding a blood-stained hammer, unless he's been painting his bike red with it, which does sound something like the fucking stupid AI in this game would do. Before we talk about how artificial this intelligence is, let's talk about the combat of the game. In the melee, you take turns to hit one another while you both block and attack whenever they drop their guard, which is guaranteed to be like 2 seconds after they started blocking, since the animation for every enemy is pretty much the same. On the other hand, gun combat, which means that the enemy has a gun and you do not, is very unfair. They will shoot you from a distance of right up in their grill to the other side of the room, and will shoot you before you can even see them. They'll shoot you if you step out of the allocated melee combat zone, which means gunshots to the face. They'll shoot you the second you've finished fighting someone else, and if you aren't being shot at, then they probably don't have a gun. Luckily, you can deflect shots by going into fighting stance and blocking. However, to treat gunshot wounds, all you can really do in the game is eat chicken and apples left sporadically around the level in frustratingly small quantities. Floor chicken. Now we can discuss the AI. The AI in the game is painfully inept when it comes to walking around the level, bumping into things and just walking like they don't actually know where you are, where they are, or have any spatial awareness of any kind. One of my favourite things to do in the game is to lead enemies right into fireballs, which usually kills them instantly. They just walk right into the hazard like they don't care. Meanwhile, back to Trador and his grave injuries. A lot of the trades in the game are subpar, and there's a shitload of stuff that just doesn't make any sense. You bump into a bartender who is out of business. Not because he's got no alcohol to sell, but because he's not got any glasses. Fun fact, in real life, you can drink from bottles. You give him a glass and you suddenly find his livelihood is restored because he can pour exactly one drink. He then gives you, a 16-year-old girl, alcohol and tells you to give it to your father or someone. But how can he drink it when you don't have a glass? Level 1 isn't that bad. You do some basic training and fight like 2-3 guys and then give the medical kit to Trador, who gives you a battery for a robot. It's all really convenient and everything fits together like a 4-piece jigsaw puzzle. Level 2 is a big jump in difficulty. It starts off with another guy dying, this time from a scorpion sting. But again, let's address the location. The Underworld looked like a rigid Morrowind dungeon. We went through one door and now we're in some kind of cave. But that isn't the best change this level has to offer. After you gather wood for a fire so some woman politely labelled as hag can make an antidote for your dying guy, he gives you a talisman. The only item in your inventory opens the only locked door in the area, which leads to a fireball room. Like, they wanted to build this immersive world but also wanted to throw in some forced challenge. Then you're in the funeral home talking to the world's largest man who has lost his hammer.
My mallet's been stolen. I'll never be able to finish these coffins.
What lies ahead is the Death Crypt, which means two things: undead and lots of them. Zombies, skeletons, and zombies, skeletons, and zombies, and skeletons, and The challenge of this area is its relentless combat and fireballs all over the goddamn place. You can just run past them all while looking for the mallet, but they'll corner you eventually. The zombies aren't too bad, but the skeletons are the worst. They hit very fast and can sneak in a few hits if you aren't on point with blocking. Every time you pass through a door, you're met with a challenge. Usually the same challenge: more undead. Soon they're literally lining up to fight you and jumping out of their graves to kick your ass. There's a major shortage of health items in the area too, so it's a massive pain in the ass when everything is trying to kill you. But in the middle of the arena lies in wait the Grim Reaper, ready to usher your soul into the... Oh yeah, it's really easy to kill him with fireballs. You find the mallet and the rest of the level involves some Frankenstein ripoff where you can pin the monster to the table he was made on and just keep on mashing circle until he dies. It's the easiest fight in the game. Then Dr. Schmankenfein tells you that there are spies in the following levels. You might as well say cow goes moo because it doesn't really mean anything.
Give us that sword, you scummy little orc.
Walking through the first door in level 3 and you're immediately attacked by robbers. They call you a scummy little orc and want to steal your sword. It's actually pretty satisfying to kill these guys. However, the rest of the level is a confusing mess. To summarize this one briefly, there's a security shutter that needs 2 keys. There's a lot of people in this one to talk to, like the drunken blacksmith who wants more booze, the old lady who wants medicine for her granddaughter, this guy who lost his wife's locket, the accountant who wants not to be crushed under a wooden beam, and the missionary who wants pens and paper to teach this child, when he really should be worrying about the dangling electric cables and fireballs that are sandwiching his classroom, or have to worry about teaching his student if it dies on the way to class. Everything is again really convenient and solved with stuff you have laying around or get in trades. The first half of the level is just wandering around trading things and is therefore really boring. Anyway, the second half of the level sees you rescuing the husband of this woman you meet from bandits. 3 minutes after you start looking, you find the guy and he's dying and in desperate need of water. But the only water source you've been able to find is stagnant and really, really bad for him. So naturally you give him some of that. Which doesn't kill him, because you can only get a game over from dying, so you have to go find the real water, you dummy, which is behind a secret door. Pro tip, the best way to identify a secret door is by checking the walls for something that looks like an outline of a door, or is surrounded by some sort of weird lighting. If that fails, just check the map, because they put secret doors on the map. For real, they're on the goddamn map. It's not a secret door if it's on the map! So after giving him the water and saving him, you go to the bandit captain to get the shutter key he took from the guy you saved, but blocking the way is this guy. Don't let his rugged good looks fool you. This guy is a merciless killer. The captain's guard is no ordinary bandit, because for no adequately explored reason, you can't hurt him. So you must resort to magic. Magic is a lot like cooking. You need a recipe and ingredients, and after 2 hours of cooking at Gas Mark 8, there's nothing left to speak of. Notable spells include the Fire Spell, the Key Spell, the Invisibility Spell, the Invincibility Spell, and in this case...
Enchantment?
Yes, enchantment.
Enchantment!
Nah, the enchantment spell just makes the dude wander around confused and lost so you can walk past the idiot. Up next, you get this weird old man who tells you about the captain of the bandits going crazy if you fuck up his treasure, and provides you with dynamite and loads of treasure chests. And I played this level like 5 times, and so far I've not blown up the right thing. Doesn't seem to matter though, because the captain of the bandits is pretty fucking pissed anyway, since he's shooting at me. So just steal the key off the table and this level's as good as done. Level 4 is where people who would be interested in this game suddenly stop being interested in this game. This is where they start to lay on the bullshit with a trowel. The level design is practically non-existent. This map looks like they threw some Lego blocks on the floor and then traced the outline. All of the corridors are cramped and there's tiny rooms with items blocking half of it. There's goddamn traps everywhere, and guess what? It's crawling with fucking bandits. Also, parts of this level are broken and barely functional at all. Somewhere in the spiderweb of interconnected rooms that don't go anywhere, you find a dude being attacked by fucking Master Splinter, this giant man rat, and he's the easiest fight in the entire level. The dude you saved waffles on for an eternity, but it's worth listening to this one line here.
Also, your way is barred and you'll need heavy firepower to clear the way.
Man, what is it? A wall? A giant boulder? A rhino with rocket launchers for legs? 2 Master Splinters? Nope, I found it. Here it is. It's a fucking box. This is the laziest game design I have ever seen. Eventually you have to use the spell of fire to destroy the box because it's far too powerful and immovable to be pushed out of the way or walked around. Finally, level 4 has one last hurdle, and it's a big one. At the very end of the level, you've got a room with several markings on the floor, and you've got to step on them in the right order. How do you find the right order? Why, it's clearly marked on this really easy to see panel in this room. The camera is definitely looking up at it so you can view it. Oh, also you have to walk through the room 3 times, and it's a different path each time. Oh, and one final thing, if you do it wrong, you die. Game over, no checkpoints, back to the start of this piece of shit level to start again. If somehow you made it past level 4, then level 5 you'll be disappointed with. It's a boring trawl through an overly large area filled with nothing, and all you need to do is trade some things and shut down the robots. Lame, next level. Level 6 is the beginning of the Hedonica crisis. It's a drug that makes whoever takes it really lazy. Personally, I've never needed drugs to experience that. However, look at this devastated victim.
There's no point in doing any work today. Maybe tomorrow.
This is like the least threatening poisoning I've ever seen. She's just lazy. Is she even poisoned? Is there a way to tell if someone's being poisoned by Hedonica or if they just can't be asked? What is threatening is the sudden change of enemies. No more bandits or average-looking guys. This level is filled with super soldier dudes with laser rifles. The story of the level revolves around the super soldiers poisoning the water supply with Hedonica, which you find out because one of them just tells you. He also tells you which of the water tanks he poisoned, where it is, and bakes you an apple pie to eat on the way there. Nah, I'm joking, but really, listen to this guy. This is not the voice I was imagining from the 7-foot-tall gun-toting badass.
I can't tell you anymore, just let me go now. I told you which tanks I infected, 3 and 4.
After you stop the poisoning by shutting down the tanks so that people will just die of thirst instead of sit around the house, you go and do some Mission Impossible shit, blow up to computer panels and stop a self-destruct sequence, which sounds fun, but they made it dull. Then you find a member of the Resistance and promptly kill 3 guys in self-defense. The Resistance member congratulates you on the vicious slaughter of his men, and then tells you to meet his leader, who won't know you're coming and will also probably try and kill you. Because you can't ever have too many friends. Anyway, that's it for the level. It's really dumb. But who is this egg-like man? Who is this mysterious ogre? What happens when Beth fights a robot? And what the fuck is going on in this game in general? Find out in the next exciting episode of Excalibur 2555 AD.